Welcome back, Disturbed Nerds. Today, we are talking about book to movie adaptations, which is going to be really exciting and also kind of tragic because we always know those are a hit or miss, aren't they, Caroline?
More miss than hit. the, like the name of the episode implies, it's more of the frustrations of book to movie adaptations because it's
Yes,
very frustrating for us.
it is, especially if you've like read the book. A few book to movie adaptations, I hadn't read the book, so I wasn't really aware of the differences because I hadn't read the book. But
Mhm.
then, like, when I have read the book and then I watch the movie, I'm like, what the hell is this trash? Because I'm like, this was not
what what was the name of the one we watched at your place? The Stephen King one.
The Dark Towers. I haven't read the book.
Yeah, I did see, even without reading the book, I watched The Dark Towers and I was like, I really don't like this.
The only thing I do know about that is that at the end of the movie, he saves the boy, right?
Mhm.
In the book, he is so overwhelmed with revenge that he doesn't save the boy. He lets the boy die.
Oh.
So that was a major thing that people were like, why did you change it? Like the
Mhm.
whole thing, the whole point of it was the fact that he was so consumed with his revenge that he let an innocent boy die. But I guess the movie adaptation, they didn't want our beautiful Idris Elba to let a poor child die.
I get
But
that.
The Dark Towers, I didn't dislike the movie. It was interesting, but I also was a little confused at times because I feel like they
Mhm.
kind of missed some things, and I kind of want to read the book just so I can maybe understand it a little better.
Then again, it's Stephen King. It might not make more sense.
Anyways, as I was saying, all of Stephen King's books are connected in some way.
If you read his book 11/22/63, which is the day JFK gets shot, the main character goes through some of the different books and some of the different stories. Like he goes to Derry and all those things
Yeah,
before he gets to the proper timeline.
I've read the only Stephen King book I've read is Carrie, and I love that. I finished that book like I can't snap, but I would be like, "Thank you for snapping for me." And then right now, I actually want to read Thinner. As I just want to read a different. I need to broaden my horizons. It's been a while since I've read a new book.
I didn't mind Goblet of Fire. My least favorite was the Half Blood Prince.
See, I'm kind of like even with those because the problem with Goblet of Fire is, first of all, that's not my favorite book either. Like, it's a very important part of the series. It's like everything. If the Goblet of Fire didn't happen, then we wouldn't have the rest of it. You know,
Yeah.
like it's an important part, but there's just so much exposition and so much happening.
The book was really good though.
Like now that I'm
The
older, I can
pacing
appreciate
of
it.
the movie was a little off.
Yeah, it was. And they missed like a lot of good parts of the book, I felt. Like the entire
Mhm.
maze part was really interesting. Just I feel like they missed out a lot on like that. And that's how I feel about Half-Blood Prince because my favorite part of Half-Blood Prince, the book, was Tom Riddle's backstory. Like you got to know
Yes.
him and they like glossed over it in the movie.
Hmm.
Like you saw maybe what maybe two memories when really there were so much more memories.
Like you
Like
learn about his family's castle and his family and his entire story, how he came to be.
exactly, and you miss out on that in that movie, and it
Hmm.
was so that movie was disappointing to me. Like I get when it comes to movies, you have to take out some things and you can't put everything, but I feel like what happens is that they take out the wrong things and then they put in stupid things that were never in the book, and you're like, what
Yeah.
was, what was the point of that? That did nothing to
Hmm.
this whatsoever.
Well, but what they did right, because we actually have the same favorite Harry Potter book and movie. We both love Prisoner of Azkaban. It's something they did right.
That is, in my opinion, I think that's the best movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie, and I read that book over and over again. It's my
I don't know. I
favorite
think
book.
Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, whichever. I think it was so beautifully shot. I don't know. I really liked the first movie too. My favorite book is and always will be Prisoner of Azkaban, but my favorite movie ties between 1 and 2.
Caroline, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is your least favorite book to movie adaptation?
My least favorite, I don't know. There's so many bad ones.
There really are.
I know you have beef with Eragon. I'm sure we'll get into that eventually.
So much beef.
I don't know. I had one and my brain just went, bloop.
You know,
I really didn't like Artemis Fowl.
I haven't watched that. And I don't think I want to just because I've heard so many bad things because I like those books. So I don't want to ruin my life. But I also know that you mentioned you don't like the Percy Jackson movies.
Yes, the Percy Jackson movies are absolutely terrible. They didn't get casting right. They didn't get plot right. They got nothing right. And I'm just like, Rick Riordan, how did you let this happen? And then I realized that he might not have had as much control as he would have liked over it because there's no way he would have let them do that to his characters. No way.
I'm going to disagree with Caroline, and she's probably going to give me some daggers,
It's
but she
okay.
already
We're
knows.
allowed to disagree. We're going to disagree on Eragon. I already know this.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, I've read all of the Percy Jackson books, and while, yes, they got so much wrong, I actually don't mind watching the movies. I still like them. I think I think I can ignore all of the things that are really wrong with it because it's still, in my opinion, they aren't bad movies. It's like if you just separate yourself from the book and the movie, they're not bad. I think they were interesting.
I
They
don't
get
think
some
they
stuff
make
wrong.
sense.
I think they kind of they're okay. They kind of make sense. They're not something you would like go to the theater for, but it might be something you watch while you're doing like I don't know homework or doing something else, just something to put noise on. But I also feel that way about the Inkheart movie with because Inkheart's one of my favorite books. I feel the same way about the Inkheart movie. And if you, yes, there is an Inkheart movie. I promise this isn't a lie. It's not a very well known fact because it bombed terribly. Um, but it has Brendan Fraser in it. And while it is not the best movie, and it is so it's very different from the book. It's been a while since I've seen it. They somehow bring in the Wizard of Oz in it, and that was never in the book. They mess up a few things, but it's still an okay movie. That's how I feel about Percy Jackson. It's an okay movie. It's one of those B movies that, like, again, you wouldn't go see in theaters, but you just kind of put on for something to watch that you don't really have to have brain power to, like, understand.
I get that.
Um,
I'm that way with Through the Looking Glass, which still counts because it was originally a book.
oh yeah,
It was
yeah.
good. I did see it in theaters because I really liked Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland.
I love Alice in Wonderland. I love those two movies, both of them so much.
Through the Looking Glass was good, but I feel like something got lost from A to B.
I feel like it kind of lost a little bit of the, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, there's just something very powerful about the first one. That's not the word I'm looking for. Like, it's missing a little bit of the heart, I feel like, in the second movie. Like, it's still kind of there, but it's still kind of lacking a little bit.
It's almost too whimsy, which is weird for Alice in Wonderland.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be whimsy. Hello. But, and there's actually, what was I gonna say? Words. But I do like those movies. There's actually a book to movie adaptation that I just watched the movie, and the movie was so horrible that now I don't want to ever read the book.
Ooh, which one?
Mortal Engines.
Oh,
Mom and
but
I
the
watched
trailer
it.
looks so good.
Oh no, it's
What? I
horrible.
haven't watched it, but I remember when I first saw the stills, the images from the film, I'm like, steampunk, yes, let's go. It was bad.
Hugo Weaving could not save that movie.
Oh no, I
Mom
was
and
so
I watched
hyped
it,
for it.
and it was horrible. It was like one of those movies that was on Prime.
hmm
It was horrible. It was so, first of all, you don't get the reason why they're in these little metal moving like houses, like in Howl's Moving Castle. They
Yeah.
never really explain it.
Oh.
There's like they're after this one thing, but you don't know why, and it's just Hugo Weaving is the bad guy, but why is he the bad guy? There are so many unanswered questions, and it's so lackluster and boring. Like you can't get attached to any of these characters because you're like, who are these people? What is their motivation?
See,
And
I
that's
wanted
something I
it to
kept
be
asking.
like Howl's Moving Castle times Mad Max Fury Road. Like that was the vibe I was getting from the trailers.
It's horrible. Do not watch it. I've heard the books are good, but because of the movie, I have to get past this movie first before I can read the books. Because the books are actually supposed to be really awesome.
hmm
But the movie was trash. But I think the problem with the movie is that it's like some post-apocalyptic world, young adult thing, right? And
hmm
we've moved past those movies, okay? We
Have
had the
we?
Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner. We've had all those movies.
I
We're
didn't like
past that
Maze
movie.
Runner. Now that you mention it, I read the Maze Runner books, and I wasn't crazy about the books themselves. Some people are gonna want to crucify me for that one. I wasn't in love with the books. I liked the first one. The rest were okay. I felt like the story had already been told, especially with Divergent coming out around the same time. But I just thought the movies were okay at best.
I liked the movies a lot. I liked them better than the Divergent movies. I did not like the Divergent ones. We
I like the first one.
tried to watch those, but I thought they were boring.
Yeah.
They
But the
they just
books are
they're
so good, so it hurts to see that happen.
like there wasn't enough. I don't think the reason why I like the Maze Runner and the Hunger Games is because there's a little bit more like movement and a little bit much more urgency, and I didn't really get that vibe from the Divergent movies at
hmm
all. Like there wasn't this urgency. There wasn't this like we got to get stuff done. There's this, and I just it felt it just didn't like it. But I felt like the reason why Mortal Engines failed was because it came out at the wrong time and it was boring. Like I said, we had that whole slew of young adult movies that are all about post-apocalyptic and
hmm
all of that. Did you ever watch the Giver movie?
I don't think so. I didn't see that one.
I was hoping you had. I hadn't seen it, but apparently it was not good either because they added a love interest that was never there in the book. And I'm like, what?
Which
So they
one did I
changed.
see that I really liked? The one with the black woman scientist. The movie Hidden Figures that is
Oh,
based
that
off
one's
a book
good.
by the same name. I
Yeah,
saw
that's
it in the last week. It was in theaters. So there was no one around us. My best friend at the time and I were sitting there watching it. And because there was no one, we didn't mind talking through it. So we were just breaking it down as we went. And it was so good.
I really liked the movie. I actually have the book and I need to read it, but it's really sciency, so
Okay.
it's a little hard for me to get through. But I also really liked that movie. Words failing. Um,
Mhm.
but
Question. Would you consider anything done about King Arthur or Arthurian legend a book to cinema or a book to show, or because technically it was originally an auditory tale told down through generations, but you could argue that the modern adaptations are based off of T.H. White's book, The Once and Future King. So I don't know.
okay, when it comes to King Arthur, I think yes, technically it would be considered a movie adaptation because it is based off something. Like it's based off stories and books and everything
Paintings. There
and
were a lot of
painting.
French writers that
Hmm.
kind of took the story from England and modified it. into what we know today.
Yeah, but it everyone when it okay, first of all, I love anything King Arthur related, and we're gonna have to have an episode just about King Arthur related movies and stuff. So I always like seeing what they do with it because they always I love when they change it up and make it different. Like one of my favorite books when I was in like middle school, I think, was Avalon High. I loved Avalon High.
I
And
wanted to get into it, but it was almost too childish. I couldn't do it.
that's why I watched it in middle school, or read it in middle school. And they made a movie, and the movie actually, I think it was a Disney original movie, and it actually wasn't bad.
Where the female is King Arthur.
Something like that. I think she was Lady of the Lake. I don't know. But it was good.
All right, so from the fan perspective, do you think that book to movie adaptations help or hurt the universe that it builds?
I think sometimes it can hurt. Because like I said, with Mortal Engines, I don't want to read that book now because of the movie. Like, that movie ruined me ever wanting to read that book because the movie sucked.
I feel like a lot of people are going to have that reaction to Artemis Fowl. Like, they watched the movie and it wasn't a good movie in its own right, let alone an adaptation. So people are going to be like, I don't know if I want to read the books, when the books are actually quite delightful.
Right. But I think also, like, it can help. Like, think about Lord of the Rings. I love the Lord of the Rings, but they are hard books to read. Okay.
They are.
So I think the fact that they made them movies helps them in the long run, because I think with books like that, it was maybe a little easier to translate visually. Because
but The Hobbit didn't need to be 3 movies.
I love the Hobbit movies so much. I love all of them. I don't care that they were 3 movies.
But they made up crap to fill the time, and I don't like that.
Yeah, but I don't think they made up a lot of made up stuff, because they took a lot of his other stories that weren't very popular. They took a lot of that. I read an article that they took a lot of stuff that no one really knew about that he had written and put that in there because it was in the same time frame or something. So I think it can be helpful, because like I said, I love the Lord of the Rings, but I watched the movies first. And then I read the books and went, hey, this wasn't in here. Oh, I love Tom Bombadil. Why wasn't Tom Bombadil in the movies? So watching the movies in that instance made me want to read the books. And I think that can be helpful towards books like The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit that are more difficult for people to read, and because of the way they're written. And there's so many heavy history in those books that it's just, there's so much. Like, the entire last half of The Return of the King is really hard to get through and read.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. But I feel like at times it could also be beneficial because you could actually see the characters when casting is done correctly, and it gives you like a good visual image. Like, when I reread the Harry Potter books, I totally lose how the characters look in the books. I could only see the cast. Like, Emma Watson is Hermione Granger, even though if you read Hermione's description in the books, she's completely different than what we see on screen. That's the truth. But your brain creates these connections.
Yeah, but I think the one thing, I have a few things that bother me about the Harry Potter movies. So one thing that really, really bothers me is the casting of Harry's parents, because they were 21 when they died, yet they casted people who were in their 40s, and it bothers me because
that didn't bother me as much.
The entire point was that they were 21. They were still kids, okay? Like, they hadn't lived and they had died. And having older adults there, like, I know they wanted to make sure we knew that they were his parents, but they're just, seeing them old didn't make a lot of sense to me, and that really does bother me. So every time they come on screen, I'm like, I can't look at you because you're 21, not 41. And I'm bothered. I'm really bothered.
But like seeing Fluffy, seeing the Griffin, seeing all these things, and the Marauders map. Like, I had trouble imagining the Marauders map in the books. So actually seeing it like splayed out and beautifully
Yeah,
created,
that
it
was
really
amazing.
did help.
Yeah, that was amazing. And it was just seeing some of my favorite characters come to life. You know, Remus Lupin is my favorite character.
I know.
He's my fave. Just seeing him come to life, like when he came on screen for in the Prisoner of Azkaban, I was like, it's Remus. I'm so happy right now because that's my favorite book and that's my favorite character. And I was like, oh my god, okay, I'm so happy right now. So like seeing characters brought to life, and
Mm-hmm.
Alan Rickman is Snape.
Oh, 100%.
R.I.P. Alan Rickman. Love you. We
Yes.
miss you.
Always.
But always, yes, always. Um, so that was I know okay, so you know the actor for Dumbledore in the first two movies, he died.
Yes.
So then we got a new actor, Michael Gambon. Yeah. That's new. That was the new Dumbledore. And a lot of people didn't like his Dumbledore. They thought he was a little too more warlike, I think that's what they said.
Okay.
He was a little too rough and not more not really grandfatherly. But and I get that because even in the books he kind of seemed more grandfatherly and everything, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I think what we forget is that Dumbledore wasn't always a nice person. Like he
Yes.
wasn't always a he
He
wasn't
was
the
Jude
grandfather.
Law at one point in time. Oh, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Oh, please have a better
I,
showing than Crimes of Grindelwald.
when I first saw Jude Law as Dumbledore, my brain kind of short circuited because I saw him and went, "Hello, Daddy."
And that three-piece suit, it was just like, why, hello.
Right? I was like, "Hello," and then my brain realized it was Dumbledore and went, "Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!" I was just like, Dumbledore. He's Dumbledore, but wow.
Right? Like, he
So in that
looks good.
right, it was like in that instant, just like I wish you would have picked not Jude Law as Dumbledore because I'm having problems being attracted to Dumbledore.
I get that.
But no, in the Fantastic Beasts movie, I love them. I do have, I
Yeah.
do, and here's, I know a lot of people have problems with them, and the main thing I have problems with is, first of all, I don't trust Grindelwald, so I really don't think Credence is at all a Dumbledore
Okay. I don't know.
whatsoever.
I feel like it could go either way. It would be an interesting plot point no matter what they do.
Yeah, it would be, but I don't think he is. I think Grindelwald is a manipulative little shit, and I
Yes.
hate him.
But Depp does play him beautifully.
He does, and I really hope he's coming back for the third one.
But one
But
thing that the Harry Potter's movies absolutely nailed from the books was how much I hate Umbridge. I hated her even more in the movie, and that is impressive.
or as everyone calls her, bitch. Can't stand her. Ah, she's horrible. And a lot of people don't like Gary Oldman as Sirius, but I like Gary Oldman as Sirius.
Thought he did a good job. I liked it.
But my thing is, and this is also one of my problems with the fourth book, is that they cut out a lot of serious interactions with Harry, and from
Mm-hmm.
because they interacted a lot more than you see in the movie. Like he got letters from Sirius. Sirius went in a cave and ate rats because he wanted to be close to Harry in case something went wrong. And so you kind of miss that interaction from in the movie. You
Which
forget that
obviously makes his death all the more painful.
exactly
Or
like
death. I
that you miss that that interaction. So which sucks, but
mm-hmm.
I did not like Okay, see, here's the thing. I don't like Ginny and Harry as a couple anyways, because I think the whole girl who has hero crush ends up with her hero thing is
Yeah.
contrived, and I don't like it. Okay, like I don't like it, but I like it better in the books a lot more because there's just I think Ginny is a little bit more badass in the books, and
Hmm.
she moves on from being the little girl with a huge crush, and you see that a little bit more, and she can hold her own.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we don't really know what all Ginny, Neville, and Luna went through in the year they were at the school, and Ron, Harry, and Hermione were not.
Hmm.
Who knows what they did, what they went through.
I think they were busy keeping up Dumbledore's army and just training.
Yeah, so they probably did a lot. Like the three people who usually save the school were not there. Someone had to step up,
Yeah, did
and
they
so
actually have owls that year?
right.
That's another thing. They cut out Hermione's like elf uprising, and I'm so upset because I remember reading the books and loving that.
Right, but I think the Ginny and Harry came off really awkward in the movies. There
Yes.
just was there was not any chemistry whatsoever, I don't think. Like it just came off really awkward. Um and a problem I have with the movies as well is they don't ruin Ron's character, but they kind of you don't get to see Ron's character as well, I don't think, in the movies.
Okay. Like he in the books, he goes through this fantastic arc. He
Mm-hmm.
starts out with like this kind of poor me mentality, and then you learn more about his family and upbringing, and then you just learn more about him, and he's a lot smarter in the books than you see on screen.
Yeah.
Like he's a constant trope of the comedian. He's breaking the ice, or he's more of a dork, like bad with women, which is true to the books too, but he does grow up more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think that gets across very well in the movies.
Hmm. I really liked. I honestly felt more from Malfoy in the movies than I did in in the books.
I think so too, and I think that's
It was
because
more heartbreaking.
yeah, I think in the books because even though it's written in a third person point of view, you mainly follow Harry.
Right.
Like you have like the first chapter in Half-Blood Prince, which is Snape making the unbreakable vow with Narcissa, but
Hmm.
like and then you have the first chapter in the Goblet of Fire where you're seeing Frank get killed by Peter Pettigrew. So you see that, but most of the time it's really you're following Harry.
Yeah.
So because it's his book. So when you see it through Harry's eyes, you really don't feel bad for Draco. You want to punch Draco in his ferret face. But then
Yes.
when you watch The Half-Blood Prince, you get to see behind the scenes of Malfoy, and he's got to kill Dumbledore. You see how it's affecting him. And first of all, Tom Felton does a beautiful job of kind of showing
Yes.
the deterioration of Malfoy.
Oh,
And
100%. You just see the character break and fracture into a million pieces that you can't get through the books. I'm sorry. I love print, I love books, but there's just something about watching an actor beautifully portray a character falling apart.
mm-hmm. And I think another this is actually a show True Blood, which I've seen all of and I've read all the books, all 13 of them. I think that's why like I love the books and I really wish they would have followed the books a lot more in the show. But the reason why I like the movie is because the books are all written in Sookie's point of view, right? So you don't get to see the behind the scenes of her brother Jason. But in the show you do. You get to see all the behind the scenes of the other characters. You're not just seeing her. And I think that's where book to movie or TV adaptations is cool and
Mhm.
interesting because you're not just following one character, you're following other characters, and you get to see different stuff. And that's why I like Half-Blood Prince, because you kind of see a different side of Malfoy. And I like that because I hate the ferret, but I also kind of love it because you get
Yeah.
to see a different side. And I feel really bad, and I felt really bad for him, you know?
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm having emotions towards this ferret who called my beautiful Hermione mudblood. Sorry for the curse word, guys, but he called her that, and I wanted to just
Yeah.
shave his blonde hair. But I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room called the atrocity of Eragon.
Eragon wasn't that bad. You're so angry at it.
It was horrible.
It wasn't that bad.
Yes, it was.
The
I cannot
CGI
stand
was,
that
but the
movie.
story,
The CGI was bad. The casting was
the
bad.
casting was
Everything
bad.
was bad. First of all, my favorite character is Arya, my badass tough elf. And you know who they had for her? Some little baby face, little princess teenager looking chick.
I know.
No, it was horrible. I hate it so much I can't even remember the movie.
I have bits and pieces. Like, I
But
remember the only thing I truly was angry about when I watched it as a kid was when they encapsulate the mentor's tomb in glass. I remember being angry because I'm like, no, he's supposed to burn. Like, why is he in glass? I remember genuinely not liking that as a kid.
But see, I remember we rented it, right? And Tristan and I, who had both read the books, um, we were both really excited, right? So we didn't even know it was a movie. And so we turned it on, and we're watching it, and from like the get-go of when we see who is playing Arya, Tristan and I are not having it. And then our mother is just like, this is such a great movie. That was so great. And Tristan and I just slowly look at each other. That was horrible.
I
Like,
wish they had gone more into the magic side. That's my biggest gripe is the books are full of magic and watching him just mess around with it and getting it wrong. They had to skip over a lot of that because they wanted to add in more epic battle scenes, which I get, but the magic portion is such an integral part of the book.
I hate that movie.
I know
Hate
you
it
do.
so much. It's on
I hear
it's on
Willow hates
Prime. Yeah. It's on Prime and I looked at it and I just glared. But I hate that freaking movie.
yes.
Let me put it this way. I hate that movie so much I would rather watch Twilight. And I don't even like
I
Twilight.
don't like Twilight either.
I've seen all of those movies and I don't like them. I don't like the books
One
either. But
One adaptation that I was super hyped about but was disappointed, and we're going to disagree on this, is The Mortal Instruments. Because I love, love, love those books. I am in love with all the characters, and then in all the spin offs of The Mortal Instruments too. I'm just like Clockwork Princess.
I love those.
They're so good and the characters are so intriguing. The story is intriguing. Just the casting for the movie kind of killed it for me.
Oh yeah. I did not like that movie.
Except
Okay,
for Magnus. I really liked who they casted for Magnus.
here's the thing. I think the movies are okay. The movie is okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. I don't like it, but
The
I
casting
actually,
gets me.
yeah, the casting was wrong. And
Like Chase is supposed to be like the sexiest man alive. And
right?
it's just
And he
they
just
didn't
not.
do it for me.
No, he did not do it for me. And it was off. But I also I haven't finished those books. I have the second, the third, the fourth, and the sixth one. And I started the sixth one and I made a mistake and I accidentally spoiled it for me.
Oh
And maybe
no.
I didn't spoil all of it. I just spoiled what happens to Simon.
Okay.
And I love Simon. Everyone hates Simon, but I love
I
him.
liked him. He has really good character growth in the
Yeah,
series.
he does. I love
And
him.
him and
And
Maya,
yeah,
spoilers.
Yeah, it's just spoilers. But I love his character, and something happens to him, and it makes me really freaking upset, so I couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
But I need to start from the very beginning because it's been so long since I've read the series. But I actually like Clockwork Angel, and all those. I need to finish
They were
Clockwork Princess.
so good.
They
I
were
am
better
stuck.
written.
Yes, I am stuck between wanting them to be a TV show or not being a TV show because I feel like a lot of it won't translate because so much of it is what's the main characters and what's going on in their heads. So I feel like it just wouldn't play out on the screen well. Although I would love to see me some Jeb on screen. Hello.
I love Jim. I love him. But
Jeb is amazing.
the Shadowhunters TV show, heard mixed reviews on that because
Mhm.
they don't follow the books and they just kind of veer off course. Like I think they said it starts off kind of following the book and then it
Yeah.
veers off.
I get that. I've seen bits and pieces. Again, the casting kind of bothers me. I think they got Clary more correct, and Isabel looks really good too in the casting. But I'm not crazy about Alec. I don't know. Also, again, Jace, what is your problem, casting directors? Where do you keep going wrong with this character? Like, I even went back and reread the description of when Clary first meets him, and I'm like, where are you guys getting this from? What is happening? Y'all getting lost in translation. And of course, my favorite movie of all time, Phantom of the Opera. It was originally a book by Gaston Leroux. The book is a hard read, but it's so good and the movie is so good, but I wouldn't even put them as the same thing. And I even saw Phantom on Broadway as a kid. I've been obsessed with this story. But the Phantom in the book and Phantom that we see on screen are completely different. In the book, you don't feel bad for him because he's generally like this demon type person who's a total asshole. But in the movie, you actually get feelings for him. So that could be one of the instances where creative decisions can help and hurt the story because you lose a lot, but you also gain something too.
I have not seen or read Phantom of the Opera whatsoever.
Oh, it's my favorite movie. What do we want to see adapted?
Hmm.
I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
trying to
know.
think about what I recently read.
Yeah, it's the last thing I read was already a movie. Like Carrie was already a movie.
Maybe the prequel for Hunger Games that I read. Um, The Song of Birds and Snakes, is that the title? I don't know. It's such a weird title that I keep forgetting it. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I call it something else. Um, Library. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah, that
I
one.
swear, every time I tell someone about the book, I use a different title
Automatic.
combination.
I think since we were just talking about it, I think Clockwork, that series, The Infernal Devices, would be cool to see on screen
Mhm.
because it's a different time frame.
Yes.
So,
The
seeing
costumes would be magnificent. That would be my favorite part. I love
and you're
steampunk and Victorian era.
oh yeah, and Jim would be beautiful just to see on screen because
I
he's
hope so.
wonderful. I
Him
just
and
he's so
Will,
good.
is that what's his
Well,
name?
yeah, yeah, but I would like to see that. I
I
don't
don't
have
know. The
anything.
Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes would be good.
Oh, we didn't talk about a series of unfortunate events.
Oh boy.
Crash series was awesome.
The movie that was first created, well, I loved Count Olaf. I didn't like how the story was told because they tried to fit in the first three books into one movie.
Not work.
It worked out
Mhm.
so much better as a TV series.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, another amazing Count Olaf performance.
Mhm. And they captured the essence of the books because the books are so dreary, and they
Mhm.
just captured the essence. And you know what I loved? I loved how they handled it because the books are told in Lemony Snicket's point of view.
Yes,
Like
they
he
are.
story, and I loved how they handled it in the series because he's standing in the room explaining what's happening,
Hmm.
but they don't see him, and it's wonderful. Like I
It's
don't know who came
beautifully
up.
done.
Yeah, it's beautifully done, and I don't know who came up with that concept, but I love it.
Hmm. They did a great job.
We should have everyone tell us what their favorite movie adaptation is, and then their least favorite one.
Yes, I would love that. See what people think.
Exactly, and then maybe they can tell us what they would like to see on the big screen, or the Netflix screen,
Or
because Netflix does
Hulu,
original.
or whoever wants to pick it up.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
let
good
us
topic
know.
for another day, too. Is Netflix originals. All right, Disturbed Nerds, thank you for listening to us again. Please follow us on Disturbed Nerds all across all our socials. We'd love to keep the conversation going and hear from you.
That's it. I'm Keely, and this wonderful person is Caroline, and we'll totally catch you later.
Bye. Stay safe, nerds.